Welcome to Ninerology. I'm your host, Alan, and it is now the end of the day for day one of the legal tampering period, which is 48 hours before the new league year. This is where teams across the NFL get to officially negotiate with free agents and essentially, not officially, but lock up who's going where. And the 49ers lost 8 starters. That's right, 8 starters in day one and gained 0 starters. Now, typically this time of year tells you what the team thinks of their current roster. If they think they are this far away from the playoffs or Super Bowl, you might see some big splashy free agent signings. In this case, the 49ers did the opposite. Now, they stated how they want to get younger, which is fine and all. That's smart. You want longevity. You want to stay competitive for years and years. A common phrase that Jed York uses that gets used against him is, we want to compete for championships. But he got rid of Jim Harbaugh how many years ago, who put them in a great position for that. Now you have Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, who've shown they can get to a Super Bowl multiple times, but haven't quite gotten the ring yet. And so they have some core pieces there, but you need to retool, recalibrate, as they've said, and they did none of those things. They did not get better. One of the things that John Lynch says is, we want to get better each and every day. That did not happen today at all. And of course, David Lombardi will tell you they got way better today. But let's not look at David Lombardi, because anything the Niners do is going to be considered gold and an A+ to him. But let's talk about who they lost. Aaron Banks. We knew he was going to be walking. He was going to get a pretty lucrative contract, left guard, and he did. Aaron Banks is gone. Talanoa Hufanga is gone. Dre Greenlaw, who I was hoping, and most Niner fans were hoping we would figure out a way to keep him, is now gone. Now, that could have been financial. That could have also been Dre Greenlaw wants to be the guy. In fact, a lot of people think Dre Greenlaw was the better linebacker out of the two between him and Fred Warner. And there's arguments to be said there, because when Dre Greenlaw's in the game, the 49ers run defense is way better than when he's not in the game. And so he contributes a lot, and so all the best of luck to him. Kyle Juszczyk was just released this evening. Charvarius Ward signed a 3-year, $60 million contract. Jalen Moore is off to Kansas City. Elijah Mitchell is off to Kansas City. Malik Collins was released. Javon Hargrave was released. And how did the 49ers respond? They responded by re-signing Patrick Taylor Jr., who was the 4th-string running back, also a special teams contributor, by re-signing Kevin Givens, who is a depth piece on the defensive line. But their one free agent signing is, hold on to your horses, none other than Luke Farrell. That's right, Luke Farrell. You know, the guy that everybody knows. Actually, let's be honest, that nobody even knew of until he signed. 3 years, $20 million deal with $11 million guaranteed for a backup tight end who's known for blocking. That was the splashy free agent signing by the 49ers. A backup to George Kittle that's most known for blocking, in which your third tight end had more catches than Luke Farrell over that same time span. Luke Farrell, who has, I believe it's 36 catches over his career, where Eric Saubert has 37, and he's your third-string tight end. Now, I'm sure Luke Farrell's a phenomenal blocking tight end. He's going to be a 49er, so yes, I want him to succeed and find all of his potential. But the reality is, if the 49ers are trying to get better and stick with the competition, mainly keep up with the Rams and what they're doing, keep up with, even Seattle made some big moves today. Arizona made some moves today. To keep up with your own division, you need to make some moves. And I was expecting maybe some moves in the trenches, and that did not happen. I expected maybe a move for Drew Dahlman. Like, forget everything else. If you lose all of them, and let's say you sign a center and maybe a tackle, that tells you that, you know what, we're investing in the trenches. Now, what you're going to hear some, 49er homers, typically David Lombardi, he'll say, but don't worry, we're stocking comp picks for 2026. Well, what about 2025? And again, you could look at the glass half full and say, well, you know what, maybe they're wising up and they're going to build through the draft. They're going to invest in the trenches in the draft. Well, the 49ers don't have the best track record when it comes to picking in the first, second, and third round. Hopefully they can get things right this year. Last year they had a good draft. Maybe they can hit on back-to-back drafts. But the reality is that they need a lot of work, and they did nothing to address it. They didn't even sign Joey Bosa yet, Nick Bosa's brother, who they were in conversations with. So you can't even show that as like a flashy pick that the 49ers did. Uh, and back to Drew Dahlman, the center. 49ers fans were begging the 49ers leadership to make a move in the trenches, make a move for any upgrade over Jake Brendel, who's ranked 40 out of 40 centers in the NFL. That's right. There's 32 teams in the NFL, but he's ranked 40 out of 40 out of 40 eligible centers. That is bad. And so Drew Dahlman, who was the best center on the market and still young, got a 3-year, $42 million deal. Didn't break the bank, something the 49ers absolutely could have afforded. And if Brock Purdy is your future that you claim he is, you should have invested in the trenches that protects Brock Purdy. And the only other free agent they were talking with is Jameis Winston, a potential backup, because you got Josh Dobbs upset by putting him third string when she should have been second string. Now you have to go out to try to find another veteran backup, and now you're talking with Jameis Winston, who you may not even get. So the 49ers are reeling. They are not doing very well in the fan base. You go on social media anywhere, you go on YouTube, different content creators, they'll tell you that the 49ers laid a big goose egg. In fact, it's pretty consistent that the grade across the board, if you go to any poll, is between a D and an F for how the 49ers did on opening day. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this can happen. We started mentioning earlier in the offseason that it started looking like the 49ers have money problems. That's right, cash money problems, money flow issues, because you started noticing that they are releasing these players not with the cap in mind. They are not releasing them with a post-June 1st designation. They're not trading them with that designation. They're trading them before they need to pay those bonuses. Now, how the salary cap works here is if you do a post-June 1st designation, you still have to pay them their bonus that's due in March or April, whenever that kicker is within their contract. But that salary cap hit's going to be broken out over the couple of years. So you could still sign players in free agency. You could still make big moves to kind of recoup some of the talent that you're losing, whether it's through releasing or through a trade. But the 49ers didn't do that. What they were doing is they released the player before those bonuses kicked in, getting a bigger salary cap, dead cap hit. Does that free up money later on years? Absolutely. It puts a lot of the cap hit to this year. But what it does is the owners don't actually have to pay cash this year for those players. So it tells me that there's cash flow issues, and we already saw that the 49ers are trying to sell 10% of their organization. All of this we've talked about over the past few weeks. And with their lack of activity during the legal tampering period, it just shows that the 49ers aren't the class of the NFC anymore. It's one of those sad things where you're like, you know what? Their window's closed. Now, can they hit on the draft? Absolutely. If they hit on the draft, that can solve a lot of problems. The issue with that is the 49ers, with this Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch regime, have only hit on the draft class once. Yes, you've hit on guys like a Nick Bosa. Yes, you've gotten guys like a Fred Warner. Yes, you've gotten guys like a Dominic Pooney. But if you look at the number of draft picks they've had through this regime and the number of hits versus non-hits, it's not even close. Now, this past draft, you got a lot of quality starters. Maybe they hit again. That's the hope if you're a 49ers fan. Now, if they hit again, then that window could open right up and for a bit longer, because if you hit on the draft, guess what? You get 4 years, 4 years of paying rookie salaries while still having a competitive team. Now, if you ever want to compete with the Eagles and the Lions, the trenches have to be a big thing. And the 49ers have shown zero interest in the trenches so far. They've expressed interest in Joey Bosa, who's an edge, who can help set that edge, but that's not their issue. The issue is on the defensive side at the defensive tackle position, in which they just let go of one of their starters in Malik Collins. Yes, they resigned Kevin Givens, but he's not a starter. So what are you going to do, 49ers? Are you going to draft a defensive tackle? Are you going to trade for a defensive tackle? There were conversations with Jonathan Allen. Maybe that happens. Who knows? But Jonathan Allen is also 29, turning 30. So he's getting up there in age as well. Yes, they want to get younger. Yes, he's 2 years younger than Javon Hargrave. So you are a little younger there. But that's not enough. You got rid of your other starters. So there do need to be moves that have to be made. But let's be honest. If day one is any indication of where the 49ers view themselves, that is not good if you are a 49er fan. That's not good if you're Kyle Shanahan and you're potentially on the hot seat if you miss the playoffs in back-to-back years. How do you get back to the playoffs? By addressing the gaps and improving coaching and management. Now, there can be things to be said with Kyle Juszczyk going away, because now you move from 21 personnel to 12 personnel, having those two tight ends on there on the field. So maybe you can mix in a few better runs with your passes, because Kyle Juszczyk isn't the same player he was when he was brought in from Baltimore. Maybe that's the case, but you never know. You never know. I guess time will tell, but right now, again, day one, if that's any indication, it's that the 49ers don't view themselves as NFC competitors this year. And unfortunately for Kyle Shanahan, you have another off year. You may be gone. And so he's probably arguing, yes, okay, if this isn't our year, we still need to make the playoffs. I'm still trying to take care of my job. I need something to work with. And yes, he can be an offensive genius, but an offensive genius is only as good as the chess pieces that you have around you. And if Kyle Shanahan, or if John Lynch, if Parag and Jed York aren't going to give him what he's doing, then what are they doing in their position? John Lynch, your job is to put pressure on Jed York, saying, this is what we need. This is how far we are from a Super Bowl. You give me these pieces, I'll get you a ring. But right now, it seems like he's just a yes man to Jed York, because Jed York is the controlling owner. And right now, he's just trying to protect his job or get a better title. And that's not what people want to see. People don't want to post about Luke Farrell as their big splash free agent that they got for their team. I don't see anybody lining up at Dick's Sporting Goods or any other, or NFLshop.com to get a Luke Farrell jersey. Do you? I don't. So the 49ers need to figure something out. Maybe they'll wake up for day two. Maybe it was daylight savings that threw things off. And maybe John Lynch will wake up tomorrow and make some big moves, some big trades. Who knows? Yes, it's still early, but day one is typically the indicator of where the team sees that they are. Hopefully, they have a few curveballs, a few tricks up their sleeves, and we'll be talking about something different tomorrow. But until then, the 49ers, you got enough. You got a chance for some extra credit tomorrow and to bump up that grade, but we're not going to be holding our breath. Well, that's all we have for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow.